Hello and welcome friends. I am Sakshi Mandwal and the topic has been prepared by Mr. Alok Ranjan, Multimedia Advisor who has held several key positions with India's leading media groups such as Doordarshan, Zee News, Sahara Network, Lokmat Samachar, DD Metro Channel and guest lecturer at CIMC Nagpur. In today's episode, we shall be talking about the children television, an introduction. Children as an audience, an evolving definition, a variable business model, children's television and the rise of merchandise. Is television good or bad for children? Regulation and timings, making television suitable for children. The Indian scenario, the changing face of children's television, important themes and genres in children's television. Conclusion. Children TV, an introduction. Children's television means TV programs designed for children, normally scheduled for broadcast during the morning and afternoon when children are awake. They can sometimes run during the early evening, allowing younger children to watch them after school. The purpose of these shows is mainly to entertain or educate. A study on preschool children discovered that watching appropriately designed and presented television programs can teach children specific attention skills, as well as encourage verbal responses and enhanced comprehension with repeated viewings. Children as an audience, an evolving definition. The definition of the word child or children has been evolving throughout modernity. Variable age of voting, marriage and child labour laws in which the definition of child changes reflect the conundrum. Who is a child? Is the category children a monolith? These questions have been posed in front on the children's television industry as well. The answer has been an evolving one. All the while, our definition of children is changing. Bogart's research of the 1950s demonstrated that people were thinking of young television viewers by age, but this was an organizing variable more than an attempt to understand age-related differences. As rule, the industry considered children as one large cohort. It was not until the late 1960s and the success of Sesame Street that there began to be a consideration of preschoolers and a fine-tuning of audience segmentation. This notion of age-specific programs was reinforced when, in the 1970s, Action for Children's Television demanded such programming. Public broadcasting now brings us Boba, 2000 to 2003, noticeable for its characteristics designed to attract the attention of pre-literate children such as bright colors, recurring sounds and repetitive patterns. Naturally, there is also a website and a line of retail products even for the youngest of ages. Nickelodeon and Disney extended the concept of targeting specific children's groupings as they refined and targeted their programming schedules to bring particular audiences to the television. Over its 20 years as a cable channel, Nickelodeon began with children's television and later added Nick at night for the tween, Nick Jr. for the preschooler and Nick Jr. for the baby. The 1990s saw an expansion of the children's audience, both up and down, with the development of tween and teen genres and preschool programming. Perhaps the most significant new segment has been the teen dramas. While Nickelodeon, Disney and the public broadcasting system were discovering the youngest audience, the new networks WB, UPN and Fox were attracting an older teen audience with programs like Felicity, Dawson's Creek and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Again, teens have long been an audience for the media, but now media consolidation has both fragmented that market and multiplied its texts and products. Osgerby argues that teen dramas come from a long tradition of teen girl television. But what has occurred more recently is different in both substance and scale. A variable business model, children's television, and the rise of merchandise. Children's television is nearly as old as television itself. The BBC's Children's Hour, broadcast in the UK in 1946, is generally credited with being the first TV program specifically for children. Television aimed specifically at children began when the BBC came back on air after World War II. The few thousand well-off children watching in the late 1940s enjoyed simple stories and songs, many told using string puppets. One such puppet was Muffin the Mule, a dancing circus horse often described as the first TV star. Puppets of all kinds have been among TV's best-loved children's characters since the days of Muffin the Mule. Thunderbirds was one of the merchandising successes of the 60s. Games, jigsaws, animals and novels were everywhere. Particularly popular were dinky toy models of the program's futuristic vehicles. Almost 30 years later, a model of the Thunderbirds Tracy Island base was the must-have toy for Christmas 1992. Another 60s sci-fi craze was the robot-like Daleks from Doctor Who. Children wanted everything from slippers to child-sized Dalek playsuits. The Magic Roundabout was another big name in toy shops of the mid-60s. The worldwide success of tie-ins to the film Star Wars 20th Century Fox 1977 suggested the way merchandising could financially support film and television production. TV cartoons like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe and Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles in the 1980s and 90s raised concerns from parents who felt the programs were just extended adverts for toy ranges. Then spin-offs from series like Teletubbies and Tweenies aimed at toddlers brought in millions for their makers. Moreover, storytelling for children is a folk tradition stretching back thousands of years, one which television initially continued using readers speaking to camera and the occasional drawing. The Hot Chestnut Man and the most famously Jackanory were examples of the style, and they came up with their own merchandise over time. Furthermore, the trend of educational children's television programming developed over time. All subjects were covered over the years, from math, that is Math in a Box, BBC 1980, Science, Science Workshop, BBC 1981-1982, and Geography, Near and Far, BBC 1976 to 1978, to Sex Education, Living and Growing, ITV 1968 to 1991, and Citizenship, the various scene dramas for school leavers, BBC 1968 to 1997. Is television good or bad for children? Television has its good side. It can be entertaining and educational and can open up new worlds for kids, giving them a chance to travel the globe, learning about different cultures and gain exposure to ideas they may never encounter in their own community. Shows with a pro-social message can have a positive effect on kids' behavior. Programs with positive role models can influence viewers to make positive lifestyle changes. However, the reverse can also be true. Kids are likely to learn things from TV that parents don't want them to learn. TV can affect kids' health, behavior and family life in negative ways. However, a close monitoring of what content children have access to can mitigate the aforementioned negative effects. Television is an important part of every child's life. From witnessing the magic of superheroes to tuning into horror weekends, children go through an immersive experience through television and live in the bubble of their own world. Sometimes, this bubble becomes a cause for concern, depending on the types of shows being watched. Less or no interaction with peers can affect their social development. TV eats away the time they get to interact with other children in their social circle, which may affect their knowledge and understanding of social interactions and behavior. TV shows may be educational, but excessive watching could affect your child's brain development, according to studies. The first couple of years in your child's life are very important for brain development. Regulation and timings. Making television suitable for children. A concern that is raised very often by parents, teachers, and experts is what should be the time period for which a child should engage with television in a day or a week. As all things should be, children must engage with television in a balanced way. Keeping this in mind, various network channels observe rules with respect to timings for children. Furthermore, there are regulations about the content. The synergistic relationships that are forming as a result of media consolidation are also evident in the children's television industry. With the Children's Television Act of 1990 came the first regulatory process that obligated all television broadcast stations to demonstrate that they met their public interest responsibility by programming for the educational and entertainment needs of the young audience. This obligation was strengthened in 1995 with the 3R rule, which requires broadcasters to document at license renewal time that they program an average of 3 hours of 8 specific educational programming per week. ABC's and CBC stations meet this obligation by using programming at hand from their parent companies, Disney and Nickelodeon, content that is vetted as educational. The Indian scenario. Cartoon Network was the first channel for children launched in India in 1995. Subsequently, Disney and Nickelodeon channels arrived. Hangama TV was first channel for kids that had local content, which came in 2004. Pogo and Baby TV came later by 2006. By 2018, 23 channels for children's programs were aired in India. Furthermore, there is an increasing trend of children's programming being produced within the country. Chota Bheem, Choti Anandi, Motu and Patlu are examples. Chimpu Simpu, The Adventures of Chota Birbal, The Adventures of King Vikram, The Adventures of Tenali Raman, Akbar and Birbal, and Amar Chitra Katha. Heroes are some leading examples. One must know that a lot of the cartoons produced in India have themes related to Hindu mythology. Chota Bheem, Hanuman, Ghatotkach and Little Krishna are some of the examples produced indigenously. In fact, such is the allure of this source material that Japanese producers such as Yugo Sako created a meme based on Ramayana called Warrior Prince or Ramayana, the legend of Prince Rama, as early as 1992. However, this particular venture was met with protest from some segments in India. However, the pool of children's programs aired in India remains a diverse one. Cartoons like Ben 10, Jake the American Dragon, Dexter's Laboratory, Powerpuff Girls, Generator Rex and Looney Tunes are some American cartoons that were aired in India. French cartoons like Winx Club and Galactic Football also enjoyed success in India. Japanese anime like Doraemon, Perman, Shin-chan, Kitarestu, Unpan Man, Beyblade, Astro Boy, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto and Ninja Hattori were also aired at different points in time. An interesting trend in recent years has been the production of remakes of American shows, especially Disney shows. Good Luck Nikki was a remake of the popular American edition, Good Luck Charlie. The iconic suit life of Zack and Cody reincarnated as the Indian suit life of Karan and Kabir. The Indian versions of these shows enjoyed moderate success. In addition to this, original shows like Hannah Montana, Suit Life of Zack and Cody, The Wizards of Waverly Place, That's So Raven and Lizzie McGuire also enjoyed success in both the original English language and in the Hindi dubbed version. The dubbed version opened up the show to a wider audience. Shows like Music, Art and Dance, MAD, that were educational in nature also aired. MAD combined dance and music performances with art on small and large scale. In fact, the show became so popular that art books with instructions based on MAD, that is MAD, were produced and distributed in markets across India. The British show Art Attack, which focused only on art, also gained popularity. It even had a local remake with an Indian host. Furthermore, game shows like the Japanese Takeshi's Castle, dubbed in Hindi, also enjoyed continued popularity. The changing face of children's television. Children's television is becoming increasingly more accessible with improvement in technology. DVD and websites with games and adventures, such as the website for Nickelodeon, www.nick.com, which included backstories on the characters, games and craft projects, a chat room, streaming video of upcoming events and advertising. Recently, the advent of streaming platforms like Disney Plus and Netflix have made watching children's television easier than ever before. Netflix even has a For Kids section which curates programs for younger audiences. Toy technology and the links to television have also become more sophisticated. A current example is the relationship between Warner Brothers, produced of the superhero series The Batman 2004 till date, and Mattel, a leading toy manufacturer. Kids WB announced that in fall 2004, the Batman cartoon was use a new technology, video encoded invisible light, VEIL, V-E-I-L, where the image on the screen makes toys featuring this technology light up and move. With new outlets like WB and UP and the expansion of the consumer market, these shows take on the serious issue of identity, sexuality and relationships, as branded clothing lines, jewelry and cosmetics are sold on companion websites. As McAllister and Gilo have demonstrated in their analysis of the commodity flow of television, these commercial channels now offer a seamless flow of products, both retail and media. The synergistic relationships that are forming as a result of media consolidation are also evident in the children's television industry. With the Children's Television Act of the 1990 came the first regulatory process that obligated all television broadcast stations to demonstrate that they met their public interest responsibility by programming for the educational and entertainment needs of the young audience. This obligation was strengthened in 1995 with the 3-hour rule, which requires broadcasters to document at license renewal time that they program an average of 3 hours of 8 specific educational programming per week. ABC and CBS stations meet this obligation by using programming at hand from their parent companies, Disney and Nickelodeon, content that is vetted as educational. NBC is now fulfilling this requirement by renting out the Saturday morning block to Discovery Channel, a cable channel that has well-established reputation for quality documentary programming. The consequences of this regulatory policy are that children now see the same programs on the network as they do on Nickelodeon and Disney. During the prime hours of Saturday morning in 2000, ABC programmed One Saturday Morning, 1997 to 2002, Doug, 1991 to 1994, and Pepper Ann, 1997 to 2000, all Disney productions and all promoting pro-social messages. CBS programmed Franklin, 1997 till date, Kipper, 1998 till date, Little Bear, 1995 to 2000, and Little Bill, 1999 till date, all preschool programs with pro-social messages distributed on Nickelodeon's Nick Jr. The format of choice for Saturday morning children's television has become palatable pro-social animation for the preschooler. Impact of regulations. Economies drive the US commercial television market, perhaps nowhere more so than in the children's television industry. Early TV sets were promoted as important for children, a technique used later by cable and emerging networks. Once each was established, the amount of children's programming declined. When cable was first introduced, Nickelodeon, the Cartoon Network and USA all programmed heavily for children. Disney soon followed. The Cartoon Network in USA no longer programmed for children. And although hundreds of new cable channels have been added since cable was first introduced, Noggin is the only new children's channel. WB and UPN initially programmed for children and teens, and though WB now has a children's block, Kids WB, both have eliminated their programming for teens. Children's television is not a genre to be considered as a monolith serving a singular audience. Like adult television, it is the consequence of the economy, technology and politics of the time. Jason Mittel, calls for an analysis of yawners situated within power politics. He asks that we look for the political implications and effects of yawner distinctions in seemingly non-political case studies, providing the example of the motion picture industry's sale of theatrical cartoons to the television networks. Important themes and yawners and children's television. The articulation of yawners can point towards some important insights concerning both yawners and larger cultural issues. Most important, Mittal argues that we can arrive at a clearer and more comprehensive understanding of how yawners work to shape our media experiences, how media works to shape our social realities. In approaching the yawners of children's television critically, it is evident that Winky Dink and Jimmy Neutron are more than brash young men who represent children's animated television. Instead, they embody the changing nature of childhood. 50 years ago, Winky came on the scene to a naive audience of children and parents who were just beginning to understand the potential of television. Few dreamed of its possibilities to take us to the moon, exotic places, or a war zone. Children today have seen much more on their TV screens. If they are bored with the program, they can push a button and access 100 other channels, as well as an array of videotapes or DVDs. Jimmy Neutron and his clever gadgets and his high-tech solutions to everyday problems reflect the child of this millennium. The technology of Winky's and Jimmy's worlds replicates the worlds they live in. Crayons were the communication tool of Winky Dink's generation. Today is not unusual for a middle-class preschool child to be familiar with a computer, and most teens text message with their friends with cell phones. In many ways, similar to drama, action-adventure tends to focus on action rather than characters. More recently, these programs have been dominated by animation. The adventure revolves around the conflict between good and evil, with a single hero and his rarely or her group of supporting characters acting as a team. Action-adventure is perhaps the primary genre of children's television and can include a range of categories such as comedic adventures like Yogi Bear, The Smurfs and the Care Bears, 1985 to 88, and mythical adventures represented by He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, Transformers, 1984 to 87, and Superman, 1952 to 58. Ellen Seether, in her analysis of Ghostbusters, 1986 to 87, and My Little Pony, 1986 to 92, two examples of this content category revealed gendered and structural differences embedded in genres. Ghostbusters is representative of action and adventure stories for boys and My Little Pony as that for girls. According to Seether, these programs are distinguished by the following characteristics. Ghostbusters, My Little Pony. The hero as our equal. The heroine as a better half. Hierarchical group. Democracy of peer. Emotions must. Emotions valued as truth. Playful attitude towards work. Play put aside to save others. Fear as enjoyable. Overcoming fears. Blast enemy away. Persuade enemy to change. Violent conflict. Moral persuasion. Technology. Nature. Urban setting. Pastoral setting. Dystopia. Utopia. This kind of analysis can be used in distinguishing not only genres but also the structural differences in gender programming and its impact on the kind of aspirational value marketed to different groups. The 1990s saw a new gendering of action-adventure television with shows like the Powerpuff Girls 1998 till present, blending some of the genre characteristics of boy and girl action-adventure shows. Conclusion. Children are the future, not only citizens in a democracy but as consumers in an economic system that targets their purchasing power. It is critical that we think of children's media as a cultural category if we are to understand the social function of children's television, the demand of audience and advertisers, and if we are to explore the material ways in which this genre is culturally defined, interpreted, and evaluated. Young children love time with their parents. They especially love it if you are meeting them where they are and doing something they want to do. It seems like such a small thing, but it's these small things that can make a big difference for our kids. Watching TV with them and chatting about what they see can help to lay solid foundations for the way they read the world, relate to it, and establish their very important place in it. Ultimately, watching TV can be a worthwhile part of the complex matrix of early development. It's just one aspect of childhood that, when used appropriately, can help enrich young minds and encourage creativity, social skills, and a thirst for knowledge. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.